Hi, my name is Vincent LaBarbera. Welcome to our podcast, Mulberry Street Memory, growing up in Little Italy during the 40s, 50s, and 60s. This is one of the most famous play streets in New York City, Mulberry Street, between Prince Street and Houston Street. We are broadcasting from St. Patrick's Rectory, located at 263 Mulberry Street. It is across the street from Old St. Patrick's Church, now a basilica. I will be joined by Monsignor Donald Sukarno, who was at St. Patrick's Church. The two of us contributed to the book Meatballs and Stickball, edited by our good friend Richard Ronaldo. You had mentioned rock and roll and singing groups from the neighborhood, etc., and how we were influenced by people that sang in the neighborhood. Well, we had mentioned, I thought the best group in the neighborhood growing up was Emil DiBiase and his group with Danny and a few others in hallways. We used to hear them sing. They were terrific. But the best group, of course, we mentioned was Johnny Maestro and the Crest, and later the Brooklyn Bridge, who came from the Fort Ward, and they were the best at what they did. Johnny was brilliant. He's considered one of the greatest lead singers of any group of all time. But my story goes that I had a singing group, and they were from Elizabeth Street. And we used to sing in hallways, and we used to sing on subways, and any place there was sort of an echo. And we did it a couple of years. And members of the group were Augie Fusco, Dom Ferraro, and Joe Boltempo, and myself. And I named the group the Admirations. What happened was, since we were just knocking around and singing for a while, Augie had a cousin named Paulie. And Paulie had a girlfriend named Adelaide. And they were from Brooklyn. And apparently Adelaide had a connection for an audition at the Ed Sullivan Show, which we all know was the toast of the town on Sunday from 8 to 9 was That's It. Ed had the greatest groups, the greatest singing groups, Elvis Presley, the Beatles, Bobby Darin, Connie Francis, and he used to have a lot of great comics. You couldn't, the best of the comics, and he used to have puppets, like Topo Gigio, and they used to all converse. In our show we have Topo Gigio, and then all of a sudden, okay, you used to hear Topo Gigio. Oh, Eddie, I love you so much, Eddie. Give me a kiss, Eddie. Oh, it was crazy. And Eddie, he used to get so excited about it. But anyway, this was the place on Sunday. Everybody listened to him. So we were excited. She had the connection, and we had the shot to go at this audition. And we were so excited, we even took a picture, of our first cover of our album that we were going to sing. That's how excited we were, and we practiced a little bit. And to make a long story short, the audition was held at the world-famous Brill Building, where all the greatest singers and all the greatest group singers used to record. And here we are at the Brill Building singing. And we weren't allowed to sing. We had to create our own songs. So I sang a song, Guided by Your Love, that I created, and Augie sang a song with the Adelaide, because of the gal that got us the audition. We went there, and there were 5 groups, and one of them had to win. It was going to win and be on the Ed Sullivan Show. Well, we were excited. We thought, maybe there's a shot. Who knows? We always dream. We always had dreams. Everybody in the neighborhood always had dreams of becoming whatever. And so we sang. And, of course, we didn't win. The group that won was Bobby, let's see here. I got to think of the name that they won. But anyway, they won. And guess what? they were on the Ed Sullivan Show, and we weren't. But the fact that we really tried to get, on the Ed Sullivan Show was unbelievable, and that was my story. I thought it was just a wonderful thing that happened, and it was called Bobby and the Venetians. It came to my mind, and they had a couple of recordings, and the song that we wanted to sing, we couldn't sing because it was a hit by one of the groups called the Selectors. It was called Guardian Angel, and we did a very good rendition of Guardian Angel. And unfortunately, Bobby and the Venetians, they came with their band and all their musical background, and they were winners. And they never really made anything of themselves, maybe one or two little small records over a period of years and years. But that was my story.
But still, you had that experience. It's fabulous.
I think at this point, Monsignor, what else can I tell you? We all had dreams. Everybody also, had aspirations of doing something, being something at a young age. I was probably 20 years old at the time. Now, getting back to Monsignor, I have to tell you the story about, we went to St. Patrick's Elementary School, which was interesting, to say the least. Catholic school, and there were the nuns. And I got to tell you,
Sisters of Charity.
Sisters of Charity, absolutely. And I believe 32 Prince Street they all stayed, which is now a landmark. Correct, Monsignor?
The whole building is a landmark.
The whole building is a landmark. And let me tell you something. They pushed us hard to study. And if there was a nun, I'll never forget. She was pretty well known. In the 5th grade, Sister Anita Anna, that's her name. And I got to tell, we used to call her Dick Tracy. She was 5 feet high, and I got to tell you, she was built like a bulldog. And she was tough. And let me tell you something. If you misbehave, Monsignor, you got a knuckle sandwich.
How tough was she, man?
Oh, the knuckle sandwich with the ruler. And she broke so many rulers. But then she was so short that, the taller guys that misbehaved, she wanted to go and pull their hair. But she couldn't. And so she used to pull she went for the sideburns.
Did you ever cross with her?
No. I was good. I was
You
a
were a
good
good
guy.
boy?
Yeah, I was good. I never bothered her. She never bothered me. But she left a lot of people back. And that was the sad part. She did. And a lot of people at the end of the school year, they were really upset, especially the boys. She went for the boys, never the girls. And I tell you, she was a piece of work. Now, my good friend John Bavona, who's with us, has a great story to tell about what happened to him in the 5th grade. Before I say that, remember, John was always, since the 2nd grade, to my knowledge, to the 8th grade, he was the top male student in the class. Always. With the report card. It was always John. Now, the female gal was Joni Gambino. She was terrific. But John has a story to tell you now. What happened with Anita Anna, Sister Anita Anna in the 5th grade. John?
Thanks, Vinny. Well, as far as such a great story, it's become a great story over the years. For me, that day was a disaster. I was a good student, and
Now, what grade were you in, John?
5th grade.
Okay.
5th grade, and they gave out things that at the end of the year for the best, the boy who did the best, and one for the girl who did the best. Joni Gambino, she always, with one exception, got the top one of all, and she was the girl, but I was the boy for it. Except for 8th grade, I beat her on that one. But anyway, so it was the day that we would leave for the summer, and just as we were walking out to go for lunch, she stopped me. She just looked at me. She said, "You're being left back."
This is Sister Anna Maria.
And yes.
Right.
And she turned around and walked away, and I was like,
Startled.
Yeah, and I didn't know what to say, what to do. I went home in tears. I told my mother, I said, and she said, I'm going to be left back. My mother said, she said, but you do so well. I don't know. I was just beyond myself. So I had to go back. I really didn't want to do that, but I did. And she didn't say a word. And now she started who was getting left back, who was going, and I didn't hear my name yet. And when she mentioned who were getting the awards, I was one of them. So she was not only a physical terror, she was a nut all around.
So I'm picturing this as a 5-foot
Yeah, it was.
nun
It
who was
was
a terror.
unbelievable. I didn't know to be happy or what after that, just walking out of there, but that's what happened.
How did she come to say that you were going to be held back?
She looked at me
Right, she was
and
losing,
just said, "You're going to be left in back." What can you say?
losing
to
her
that?
marbles.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that was the worst thing of all. So that was my story about the 5th grade.
John, did you inform your mother at the time?
Oh well, I told her what happened. My mother was, she was very upset that that.
Well,
this,
that was an era too when the teachers in general, but nuns could do no wrong. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Then you're right. You got to if they hit you when you told your
Oh, yeah.
parents you got
You
hit.
did something wrong. Definitely.
But
You got yelled at.
all in all, it was overall a good situation. A lot of friends, and it was very good. Otherwise, for that particular moment, so that was it.
We don't have any problem with it now. She's probably 125 years old, so I don't think she's with us, Monsignor, anymore. So, but I got to tell you something.
Well, maybe she's flying around in heaven, causing trouble up
She's
there.
flying. I tell you, she was a bulldog. She really was.
Right.
And we were very, very quiet. We didn't want to talk and say anything because you knew she was going to go with a ruler.
She had a ruler.
And I tell you, boy.
She had many rulers.
And you had to put your hands like that.
Kept
like
them
a
breaking
knuckle.
rulers, yeah.
And she broke them many, many times. And let me tell you, go ahead, John.
Let me tell you something. That's one thing she never did to me. She never
No.
hit me at all.
I never got hit.
She basically ignored me. That was it.
But if she had it in for you, and boy, did she have it in for certain people, because they laughed or they said something out of line, which, we went through hell and back, understanding, but you had to behave. That's one of the things they taught you. Behave, and God forbid you didn't behave, you were blasted and told. And I remember John, he walked out, he was very upset. And he always had a smile on his face, happy-go-lucky guy. We used to call him let's see, we called him what the heck is that?
What?
What do they call you, John?
Two shoes. What is that?
Goody shoes.
Goody
Goody
two
two
shoes.
Well, no, it was Johnny Goodboy. That's what it
Oh,
was.
Johnny Goodboy.
And I hate that.
Oh, Johnny
My-
Goodboy. I knew it was
Yeah.
something. Yes, John. I don't remember. Don't forget, Monsignor. This is 75 years ago.
I know.
Can I tell you one other thing? My mother, when I go home, she looked at my hands. She said, "You never come home with dirty hands." She said, "Never."
Oh my God.
So, whatever.
Oh, that's the story of the school. Now,
Yep.
Monsignor, how did that become a landmark? That building, 32 Prince Street, which still exists.
Well, the New York City Landmark Commission saw it, along with the other buildings here in the parish, not the least of which is the church itself, as part of the heritage of New York City, architecturally and socially, a very important part of the city's history, that school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very much so.
It's a funny thing because that memory of that school
Yeah.
exists as if we were in the classroom every minute.
I am sure a lot of the listeners who have any knowledge of the neighborhood know that school was a hub, for people,
It was a hub
not
for,
only educationally but culturally.
and I had to wait a year to get in at second grade. That's where I first met John because they didn't take you right away because it was always full. And
Sure.
everybody wanted to go to Catholic school, and that's what we did. But it was a training ground. I think we used to write in pen, right, all the time, in our pens.
Oh,
Pens, yeah, we had pens to
something
write in.
like that.
Sure,
And it was. They try to prepare you,
sure.
but sometimes they did more wrong than right. That's
Sure.
all I could tell you.
Well, the name of a sister that is going to be very familiar to many of your the listeners here is Sister Patrick. So she was the principal after your
This
era.
was year.
So this
yeah.
would have been, I think, the 1970s
Okay.
when Sister Patrick was principal there. A lot of stories about her.
Oh, and
You have any recollection of her story,
Yeah,
John? You
I
look
do.
like you're.
I do. I worked with her with a program for kids in first grade and second grade to do performances over in what still was Our Lady of Loretta.
Right.
And we had a couple of my friends, one Robert Uricola,
yes.
myself, and we started
Some sort of
Group.
what,
what it was a performance,
performance.
and she found out about it, and she came to me and asked if we could do things for the kids, and we did for well, we were only there for 2 years, so for the first year we did quite a bit for it. She was wonderful. That's what I had.
Well, I only know her from legend, but she was sort of the mayor of the community.
Oh yeah, she
was more than the
very
principal
big
of the
in it.
school.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
She had command over everything that happened within a mile of the church and
She was,
convent.
yes.
Monsignor, most of us became altar boys or choir boys, and that was unbelievable, and that was something with the.
No, you had a
we
voice.
Were choir
Were you
boys.
in the? You were in the
I
choir?
was in the choir. John was in the choir. Well, many of us were in the choir. Professor Campbell.
Professor Campbell.
Oh, he used
you
to
got
teach.
it.
In fact, the first 6 months, a year, I didn't like it. I'd rather play sports. And he came to my apartment and got me back. He talked to my mother, and he said, we really want him back. So I went back. And we sang for years. And, it was such a wonderful thing that we experienced that we had. It was a lot of fun. But the choir boy and altar boys, a lot of people were altar boys also here.
I was as well. I was also for a while. I got thrown out because I was late all the time.
Really?
Shame on you.
I didn't know that, Joe.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's sort of contrary to your persona.
I was,
I think-
and now I'm never late.
No, that's right. That's what I mean. What I know of you, you're a very
Yeah.
prompt person.
Monsignor, let me tell you something. We're very fortunate to have you with us,
For sure.
for sure. But there was a lot of priests that weren't on your side. Certainly, there was one priest that never was on my side. Never disliked me totally. And
Maybe he had a reason.
Oh yeah, the reason. Yeah, I could tell you the reason.
What was the reason?
The reason is basically that
Little
I sat
confession here.
behind Michael Areno,
That's right.
and Michael Areno was the class clown. He was a prankster, a brilliant, bright guy, and played basketball. I played basketball with him for years
Now,
later.
what did you do? Come on.
What I did was listen and laughed at the jokes
Yeah.
that Michael used to do, and he did crazy things. And this one priest just
Who
didn't
will
like me.
remain unnamed.
Yeah, Father
Yeah.
P.
All
Okay.
right, Father P.
All right. So anyway, so the bottom line is, okay, without warning, okay, Michael got expelled, and what happened was Michael got expelled
For
5
cause.
months before graduating the 8th grade. Now remember one thing: we were 90+ students. Michael was a 95%
Oh, yeah.
student. I was a 90+ student throughout. And Michael went to Transfiguration. He was, but I never knew. 2 months later, I was sick one week, and when we found out that Michael had been expelled. I found out. I went to church that 9 o'clock mass, and they told me Michael had gotten expelled. Little did I know, the next week later, I got expelled, and they wouldn't. This priest wouldn't allow me. I was so devastated. My parents said, "Well, what did he do?" They couldn't explain to me, but I never knew. John explained to me years later. It wasn't the nuns that got me expelled. It was Father P. And I was devastated. And not only did he did this, okay, but he never allowed me to go to Transfiguration, was with a Catholic school to finish. And I had to go to crime school, a PS 130, which was for 2.5 months.
What did you say, crime school? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
they were all, I gotta tell you, these guys, you had your life in your hands. They were tough and nasty, and for 2.5 months, I had to just be very quiet. There was one guy named Carmine who was a brilliant guy. He's the only one that I would like to speak with, okay, because he went to Stuyvesant and made something out of himself. But the others, who knows where they are, what happened to them. And they used to just come over and try to, bully you all the time.
But it was wrong what happened to him.
Yes, it sounds
I
like
stand up for him 1,000%.
I mean, come on, and it devastated me. I never went to Catholic school the rest of my life.
Oh.
No, it really did. I never.
By the way, it was that priest that threw me out as an altar boy.
Oh, no, okay.
See that?
So, all right.
You see that?
Right.
We
Well-
didn't. You see, I never knew that about the altar. Because you were late all the time, John. I
Yeah.
can't believe that. Well, that's
This
a
is
great
This
story.
is Father P.
Father
we're
P.
talking about.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, everybody knew him.
Right,
He
well-
was equivalent to the priest in the parish at the time when we were young.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to do a lot of things, take people to Rockaway and to the beaches. I tried hard to really be close with him, but he never liked me. That's it. He liked a lot of people. He loved Marty. He loved a lot of people just, he had his favorites, and that was it. I mean, Rousseau Lacey, Ignatius Rousseau Lacey, he had about 10 favorites.
Yep.
And I didn't know he threw you out, John. I gotta be honest with you. This is the first for me. But and he was, always putting the guys, in his truck, whatever. He had a van and take them to the beach and all. But he never liked me. Even when I was a teenager and I was out of school and I played basketball at the youth center, he never really enjoyed the way my style of play. In fact, at the championship game, thank God Eddie Morano, who was our mentor and one of the greatest people ever that ever came to the neighborhood for sports at all time. He had me on the team. He recruited me from James Center, and I had to play. And Michael Areno, believe it or not, was the star of the team, and I played on his team, and I could play. So. There was a championship game against St. Anthony's of Padua. And the first half, I didn't play well. And so, of course, Father Principe, I mentioned his name, all right, whatever, Father P. Everybody would know who he is. But anyway, it's okay. There's a great story to that. But anyway, so he
So
told...
he's the one that expelled you?
Yeah, he
I know
expelled
nothing
me.
but good stories about
No,
Father Principe.
well, that's okay. Well, you didn't hear this story, but the bottom line is, so this was at St. Anthony's. We're playing for the championship of the league, and both undefeated. So, and we had a hell of a good team. So I played the first half. I didn't play well, 3 points. So he tells Eddie Morano, he said, "Listen, you got to sit Vinny down and put. I know who he wanted to put in. He said, put Frank Orlando, one of his favorites." So Eddie Morano, God bless him, and that's why I have loyalty to Eddie for the longest time since he passed away about 10 years ago. And he said, Vinny's played the second half. Well, guess what? The second half, I scored 19 points. I won the game, and we beat them by 10 points. And that's the story. But there's an irony and a great ending to this. Many years later, I was at a funeral in the Bronx. And I told my wife, I said, Donna, I know that priest. And who it was Father Principe. So I said, uh-oh, this is my time. So I saw him, and after the services ended, I walked over to him and I announced who I was. He had no idea who I was, but he did say to me, and it was sort of like closure to this. And I listened to him, and he said, being at St. Patrick's was the greatest experience of my life. But And he said, "Thank you for coming over, et cetera, et cetera." I said, "Thank you so much." But I wouldn't
Well,
mention.
that's a great circle.
Yeah.
All right.
All right,
Yeah.
when it came to full circle, guess what? And my wife said, "Did you tell him anything?" I said, "No, I wouldn't tell him anything." I said, I just wanted to show, that it was closure for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was just about 20 years ago.
Right. Right.
So that's my story
Yeah, well,
about
time
Father
is a
Pete.
great healer. I mean,
Well,
you
heal-
certainly remember. You still carry a wound. I mean, it was a
Well,
devastating
I
experience.
told you I never went to Catholic school the rest of
Sure.
my time.
Yeah.
Okay, and I resented going to school. I was supposed to go to La Salle. I didn't want to go. All these things happened 2.5 months before the 8th grade was gone. And
So you
they
didn't go to LaSalle either.
No, I never went to La Salle. No. I went to Seward Park High School, which was fine. But the idea is, it's just unfortunate that it put a bad taste in my mouth.
Sure.
And and I actually, it's just I felt very bad about it. We lost contact, John and I rekindled our relationship about 25 years ago. We were best friends then, and now we're best friends.
Yeah,
more
sure.
than ever.
Yeah.
It goes to show
Yeah,
we
it
didn't
does.
miss a beat with our relationship.
Exactly.
And that's my story. I got to tell you, it's a good story because it has a happy ending.
Yep.
Certainly for me.
Yep.
And John, I'm sure. So anyway, here we are
Absolutely.
doing the podcast now, and we're together. I said to John, could you imagine we're doing this 75 years ago? And there's a great, interesting story because John. There's one more story I have to tell you that I find fascinating that I remember 75 years ago with John.
I know.
John and I were friendly, very friendly, and Jerry I was also very friendly with, Jerry Scusa. And one time, in the corner, you had mentioned the place with the jukebox. It was Mo Chingy's place, and John said, "Vinny, let's have an A cream." And I said, "All right, okay, let's go, John. We always talk together. We used to hang out together, and we went to school together. So we had an A cream. So John, and then we had a donut. But John, I remember now, it was a jelly donut. And we had it. And John takes 50 cents out, and he said, "Vinny, it's on me." And this is the first time anybody, young boy, person ever treated me for anything, my age. I thought it was so wonderful. I went home and I told my parents, I told my mother, I said, "This is a beautiful thing he did." Okay, what could I do? So I looked, I thought, I said, "Oh, wait a minute. I know what to do." We always loved singers, we always loved to hear singers sing in the 50s. And there was a group that I loved and he liked called the Hilltoppers. And I just bought the record called Trying. So you know what happened? Okay, as an appreciation of what he bought me the acre, I gave him the record, the CD of Trying by the Hilltoppers, which I
And
hope
I
John
still
still
have.
have it. Yeah, he still has it. See,
Great.
so you see how wonderful things happen.
You have the 45 record with the big hole in the middle.
Oh
God.
my! And the hole in the middle.
Right,
But guess
remember
what?
that?
And that was a great story. But it was. Hey John, could you imagine?
You
It
needed a
was-
special spindle for it. Do you still
Yes.
have it?
Yeah, we have
there
it.
it is.
Oh yeah, you have to have the spindle.
Yeah, right.
You know something, John? It was a jelly donut,
Jelly donut.
and it was an A cream. I tell you. So anyway, now we got to get to John's story. Okay, John, tell us a little bit about the Boy Scout story you
Well,
prepared.
Yeah, it's interesting. Around this time of year, and especially coming over here, that where the first of all, imagine that it's that you have one of those in this neighborhood. It's not like you might, the Boy Scouts be here. That would, if you told somebody they were a Boy Scout, they'd punch you in the face.
Right.
But we had a Boy Scout troop, 133. That was the number, Troop 133, and we used to we every Friday night at 7 o'clock we'd go down to a big what would you say?
Meeting.
It was an
Underground.
under the what?
We used to walk. No, we used to walk down the
Downstairs, yeah.
stairs.
And have our meetings. Well, this was the first year I was in, and this was 1952, so I was 11, and I was that kind of kid. I wanted to be in it, you know, and my parents brought me, you know, the whole the stuff of places,
uniform.
things you needed,
Mhm.
the uniform and everything, and there were only about half of the guys that had them because families, you know, didn't have the money to get them. And anyway, we were getting, this was near the summer, and we were getting ready to go to camp. We're going to the Catskills, 10 Mile River, actually it was, what was it? It was more like just a pond, but a very, very big one. And I couldn't go. I mean, I couldn't wait to go because getting out of the city, you know, I had really never done that other than in Staten Island, which I don't call. Anyway.
Getting out of the city, Staten
Um,
Island.
So you had to get certain things and to go with you. There were about 30 of us that were going. So there were three boys in there. They had been there. They were older, 3 years or so older than me. One of them was, you know, his brother, Bobby.
Mhm.
And he also was kind of like a surrogate big butt brother to me. And his two friends. They were quite a
Mhm.
trio. They did crazy things. Anyway, they didn't have the clothes to go. And what they did was, there was a place up on 33rd Street between, it was Park Avenue and Lexington. It was all Boy Scouts things, everything. So one day they went up there and they wanted to get
Their uniforms.
uniforms plus other things.
Mm-hmm.
So they went there, and three of them went into the shop, and not together. And one of them walked. It was a long, narrow place, and one of them walked way to the back. One of them was looking at one thing, another, and all of a sudden, there's a big commotion. The one who went to the back is having a convulsion. Yeah. He wasn't really, but that's what he was doing. So all the people went back there
Sure.
to see what was going on. It was, you know, he was a kid, a young guy. P.S. The other two started stealing.
Oh no.
They wound up taking not only the regular uniform, they took the
Now, were you part of this? Were you there? when
What?
this- Were you there when this was going on?
I heard the whole story.
Okay.
They told me.
All right.
That's that.
Oops. Sorry.
They had a summer one too, so they got those, including a number of things that you need to go up there.
Right.
Water can, stuff
Right.
like that.
All the paraphernalia, Boy Scout paraphernalia.
And a bunch of stuff, like bows and arrows. No, that wasn't bows and arrows, sorry. Anyway, they got all that stuff, and that was one thing. That same week, there was a burglary in a Army and Navy store, which was on Broadway and Houston Street. And a number of things had been taken from it. Nothing, no money. And that Friday night when we went, there was a ton of things laid out on the floor and where we were there. Nobody asked what happened, how they got there, and they became the things that they didn't do it for themselves, for them and everybody else. we didn't have to go buy all that stuff. And then we went up to the camp, and it was by bus. That was a big thing certainly for me, and for the guys too. I had a thing about the Adirondack, even though it was the Catskills, it was okay, you know. But so when we got there, you were in a bus, and one group is going out, and another one, and then we were going in. So we were getting off the bus, they were coming in, and the three boys I'm telling you about, they had the summer pants, and they were half, you know, above the knee. And the boys who were leaving, they started making fun of them. And they had pea shooters, all right? They started shooting peas at them. Well, that was a big mistake. They went back into the bus and came out with the bows and arrows.
Oh, my.
These were hunting bows and arrows. And they started shooting.
Wow.
They shut out windows in the bus that the kids were in. Everybody was jumping under the bus, whatever. Eventually, the cops came, a bunch of them. And by that time, when we knew that they were coming, you heard the seats.
Now, you were there for this.
Yeah.
Were you implicated with
Oh, no, I was not. No, there was just the three of them.
part of this gang?
They ran away
All right.
back into the woods. They had been to the camp the year before, and they knew where to go. And so the cops never found them. They knew where to go. And that was our first day at the camp. And it went on from there. And maybe this is going to be too long because there's a lot to it and a lot of things that happen, you know, and I think maybe we'll tell that part of it at another time,
Not
okay?
a problem. Who was the Boy Scout that lived? Frank
Frank Pasquale.
Pasquale.
He was
right?
an engineer. He lived across the street in 274 on Mott Street. One lovely guy.
Very
And he
nice.
knew how to handle those guys.
Really?
He did.
Good for him.
And and with all of us said about them, there was something about certainly the one I knew very well, such loyalty and you know, he didn't do these things just for himself, you know, and that was, you know, was something. He was a guy who should have been in the woods because he loved it. He loved being in the woods. And, you know, I miss him. He's gone, but he was a great friend to me. Another time, because another time I think it would be good to tell you what happened in the camp.
Oh, you
For sure.
sure?
There was
That's for sure.
Plenty of things.
Oh, I think those are just wonderful things that you remember so many years later.
67 years.
I mean, you know, it's remarkable. We have trouble remembering what we ate yesterday,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we remember like it was yesterday, that we remember the years that have passed by, that we
Yeah.
were young, and we remember all these things that happened to us. That's remarkable because the memory of that must have been an important part of our lives, John.
Oh, yeah, I think that's, for me, that particular time and that particular thing just resonates for me very often. And I mean, we were kids. I wasn't even 12 years old. And we were there. I've never been away from home, right? But where we were. And we took care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it worked. And it was wonderful.
John, with the Boy Scouts, didn't we go to Van Cortlandt Park also on occasion?
Well, we were
There's a
supposed
story.
to.
Oh, okay.
There was a Girl Scout group,
Right.
and so they were trying to put together a hike up in Van
Van Cortlandt.
Cortlandt Park,
Yes.
And we were very happy about it, you know. And the nuns got a hold of it that we were going there, and they just put a, that's it, no, you're not going up there for the,
And we never made it.
never
Wow.
made it. They
Yeah.
didn't trust us. I don't know why.
Wow. That's for another time with the other interests would happen at camp.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, so, well, that's great, John, great story, great memory, what else can I tell you?
Okay.
Are we gonna go now?
And now, Mulberry Street Memoirs.
Very good.
Monsignor,
All right, so-
you were very effective, okay, giving certain sermons during the holidays about your youth growing up, okay, and memories of your youth. People were very, very impressed.
Yeah, my environment was very different from yours, but a lot of similarities, you know. But I think that, I don't call it nostalgia, I think it's the connection with a world that served us well, all of us here, you know, and yeah, so it's looking for the values that were there that, you know, gave us stability or an outlook on life that was good. Not all of it was good, obviously. There were departures or defects as there are in everything, but there was a solid foundation there that, you know, you really want for others. My nieces and nephews and your grandchildren, you know, and you wonder, right? Did they have the same experiences that bonded them together? Neighborhood. Just the concept of neighborhood alone
Right.
is something that's
But you
very important.
know what?
I had it. It was a small town, so I didn't have even the word neighborhood was foreign to us. I didn't know what a neighborhood was. There's no such thing as neighborhood in Carmel, New York.
Are you in touch with many people you grew up with, Monsignor?
Oh yes. Oh, well, yeah. Not like you. It would be interesting to do that, but yeah, we all know one another. We, you know, there's a whole bunch of us that were in kindergarten in the same building and graduated from the same building, Carmel High School. You know, yeah. So there's a network of us, but not as tight as you are or have
Well,
been.
That's
Certainly not.
that's
Well,
that's the
Monsignor, not everyone was Italian, correct?
Oh, it was exactly right.
Yeah.
It was very heterogeneous, but it was Protestant, Catholic. Yeah, a lot of course, Anglo-Saxons, Protestant, Italians, Irish, but that's about it. There were
And
no,
Jewish?
in Putnam County, there were no blacks. I think there was one black family in
Mm.
Putnam County. Virtually
Any
no Hispanics. Nothing.
Any
Sorry?
But that neighborhood concept as we knew growing up is long gone.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Neighborhood, it was a real
Yeah.
problem, you know, in binding America starts
Mm,
with the neighborhood,
yeah,
you know, really. And without that, things start getting
I see.
crazy.
You know what's unique too, and I talk to people about this when we get together and say that we've been friends for like 70 years or so. Most of us. They look at me like like I've got two heads. They say,
Yeah.
"Really?" They say, "How could that be?" And
Right.
that's the point, that it isn't that way any longer.
Absolutely.
You know.
You know, you look at the root causes of homelessness. People wonder, you know, about homelessness and how it can be resolved. To me, it starts with a network of caring community that supported people and even picked them up when they fell through. Now, there was the Bowery, and there were ne'er-do-wells that ended up homeless and disconnected to their families and neighborhood.
Right.
But now it's a flood of people.
Yeah.
That have fallen through because there is no neighborhood and those kinds of family proximate connections.
Mm.
Everything is disparate. So people
Monsignor,
fall
you tried
through.
very hard at St. Patrick's to make sure that relationship was, rekindled, but it was very difficult.
Exactly, Vinny. Right, recalling neighborhood and bringing that back to one's presence of mind. You know, so that people try to recreate it in some way. But I worried about married couples because you grew up in a atmosphere where you were constantly reminded of who you were and what your value system was. You couldn't go outside your door. You know, the mom and pop shops, the cop on the, everybody, it was constant.
Yeah.
And now, you know, a Catholic couple, wherever they're living, are disconnected to any of that. The church and the church, the school, and the family are disconnected today.
Absolutely.
Wild.
It's not
Yeah.
there anymore.
No, no.
You know,
So we're-
Monsignor, you know, taking off, just leading off to what John just says about, you know, growing up and knowing each other for 70 years. My wife was just having a conversation with a friend of ours out here in Jersey. My wife's mother grew up with the Vitalis, their mother. That's one generation. And then Lillian, my wife, grew up with the daughter. That's the second generation.
Is that Connie Vitale, you read?
No, Angela.
Oh, okay.
And then the third generation is our daughters grew up. And now the fourth generation, our granddaughters are friends. So there's like
Wow.
4 or 5 generations here. And
Yeah.
you tell these stories to people, they look at you, like John says, like you got, you know, 19 heads, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. It's not only the characteristics of it, you know, like, you know, the radio and, you know, different things, you know, things that were particular to them, but it was the closeness of the network.
Yes. Yes.
You know, it was very proximate. It was in your building. It was in your block. It was in your neighborhood. And so the reinforcement of those values was the air you breathed. And now it's rarefied air.
Monsignor, the good part is many of us, I rekindled with John and Red and everyone after 50 years. So, and we never lost a beat. In fact, our relationships are even stronger than ever. We liked each other growing up, and we like each other even more now. It
Right.
just works that way, but we always respected each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's so transient and tentative. You know, it hinges on a digital connection, you know, and it's compartmentalized into this kind of moment that lasts 30 seconds on
You're right.
Facebook or TikTok or what the hell
Oh,
it
that's
is.
just,
It's all
yeah, that's all.
transient. It's all transient and superficial.
They
You're not
sort
going to
of like
remember
it-
any of the singers today that you did with yesteryear. As I said
Correct.
before, memories of yesteryear. Sinatra will live forever and others. Okay, but now
Correct.
these singers, you won't even remember their song last year.
Correct.
You know, it's just that's the way it is. It's
Yep.
most unfortunate.
Yep.
It really
And
is
most
if you think of
yeah.
it. But
Yeah,
you
I
notice,
think there are fortunate parts about it, but I think that it does call for a whole different way of life and living. And I, you know, again, I'm going into an area that's serious, but you know, I think it has to do with the politics of today and where we're
Yes.
going. You know, it's a different world. We're going to be governed by a whole different regimen. You know.
There's such a genetic connection just being raised in that neighborhood, you know?
Yes.
You know.
Or any neighborhood. Though.
Yeah,
Any
or
neighborhood.
neighborhood, yeah.
So that's why I have a commonality. I recognize what you're saying, although my environment was very different.
Yeah.
There's a commonality there. I
Yeah.
I absolutely associate everything that you're saying
Mhm.
with, right, in terms of
Monsignor-
values that were generated out of that connection that you had. Basically, it's a church, family, school within a geographic.
Mhm.
You had it, and I had that. I had those various institutions that supported an ethic, a value system,
Yeah.
and that's been pulled apart, and now is digital and dangerous.
you notice
There's a
my
good part of it. I don't deny the good aspect of it, but there is a flip side to it that I don't know if it fits into what the future of America is. We'll find out.
Monsignor, you notice with us, it's every detail while we were 11, 10, 9, 8 years old that we remember.
These are pieces of glue that kept it together. That's each piece of glue is important. You know, really.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. So Joey got very quiet. All I know is that I have to get dressed and go. But anyway,
On that
Ron,
note,
you want to say something?
It's called an overwhelming respect for one another.
Correct.
Yeah.
Respect is right word. Exactly right word. It's respect, and for that value system too. It's a respect for what that was. That's right. That's right.
Especially, we were really all raised in a ghetto. This was a survival kit.
True.
And here we
True.
are together all these years.
Yeah, you can call it a ghetto. It's a neighborhood.
Well, it was a
Ghetto
neighborhood
sounds
ghetto.
sort of, yeah, it's neighborhood.
It was considered a ghetto. then.
Yeah.
It was.
But we didn't
Carmel
know
could
any-
be,
we didn't know
Carmel,
any
New York
better.
could be
It was
a
a
ghetto.
ghetto
You could
because
call
it
that a
was all
ghetto.
Italians.
Yep. But
Yeah,
anyway.
We didn't know how lucky we were, Monsignor,
yes,
We know now.
that we had the church and the school and the neighborhood.
family.
Exactly.
All we knew was everybody that lived there wanted to get out of there. That was the goal.
Yeah.
That's that's an interesting thing. That's the trick. Those are the tricks of the culture that it's
Yeah.
like eating too much candy. You want more. It's candy though. It's not good for you. A lot of it's not good for you.
That was
I
that
think- I think
upward
we've-
mobility.
Right, John.
As we found out.
Yeah.
As we found out.
Yep.
That was-
Anyway,
That was natural. But if you run across people who did move out of the neighborhood and you talk to them, all they talk about was how great we had it in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask that question earlier, but I didn't, and that was, was it your parents that left, and why? And I think
Better
a lot of it
life.
had to do with housing quality. As a housing specialist, that had a lot to do with the Bronx, the deterioration of the Bronx, with people moving away because they wanted a better housing product,
Right.
an elevator, things that now became after the war important.
Had to do with economics.
Yeah.
True.
Mobility,
Yeah.
social mobility,
Yes.
absolutely. Guys, peace be with you.
Yeah.
will
I
see you
have
guys
to
next
get
week.
out of here.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
I have an
right.
hour to get to Upper West
Have
Side.
a good week, everybody.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace,
Yo,
guys.
Yo, Ruth,
Take care. Joe, keep doing
See you
what
next
you're doing,
weekend.
Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Week.
Joe,
Forward to it.
Joe, you have time for a few minutes? I got to talk to you. I'll call you.
Okay.
Joe Russo.
Yes.
Okay, good. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care. Thanks, John.